All right, everyone, welcome back to Safety Last. Today we are joined by Tim, who was, I should say, the school captain of Chatswood last year. And Tim, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Tim. I was exactly what what Stan said. Yeah, I just graduated, going to uni next year, and yeah, just living life now. Just
Living life. Hey,
cruising.
you said something, and you explained this to me before, but because
Mhm.
I'm like a boomer and I'm not very good at technology, you said something along the lines of you're doing IT. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
coding?
Bachelor's of Information Technology. Yeah.
Okay, so in 30 seconds or less, what sort of profession does that course allow you to enter?
So it's like a leadership sort of degree, I think. You go into project management and like you can do a lot of. I think there's a administrative side to it as well. Like you can become a I think IT administrator for like schools or like for a business, but you can also it also gives you the skills to run a startup or you like make something of yourself and like start up a business. Yeah.
So does that mean, for example, like let's just say schools, because I'm used to that environment,
Mhm.
you might come
Yeah.
up with a new version of Central or a new version of Teacher Bytes or something,
Yeah,
School
yeah.
Bytes or something.
I assume it's something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I read up a bit on the course and like I did a bit of research, but like I think I'd have to do the course to fully understand it because it's a little bit. It just sounds really interesting to me, and like I've always been fascinated with technology, so that's why I like
Okay.
choosing
Well,
choosing
when I
the course.
taught you,
Yeah.
which just flashback, first taught you in 2018
Wow.
in 9C, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's right. 9C.
Yeah,
9
that's
History C, I think.
Yeah, that's
Something like that.
correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what a time just flies
Time
up.
flies, eh?
And I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but and I'm pretty sure I told you this in the moment,
Mhm.
but I expected you to get captain all the way in year 9. Do you
Ah,
remember me telling you this?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I'm
well,
not
yeah,
making this up. Like I remember teaching and thinking like this kid definitely has like the social skills, the intelligence, and I
ah, thank you,
already
thank you.
like thought you were a front runner for captain, which actually you already said it. You did end up getting captain in your
Yeah,
final year.
yeah. I had another teacher that also was like really shooting for. She was actually my mentor in year 12. Yeah, and she was like, yeah, I guess I was really down at one point in year 12 when I first started because like everything was just haywire. We had quarantine and I hadn't really been studying. I'd just been like
Wasn't that
in
wait, sorry,
my
what
zone.
wasn't there
Yeah.
quarantine in the middle of year 12?
So we had quarantine in the middle of year 12 and then last year we also had quarantine as well.
But you're
I
in year
think.
11, weren't you, back
Yeah,
then?
I was just stressing. I was just being a little worrywart in year
Mhm,
11, I
mhm,
guess.
mhm,
Yeah, but yeah, I got my stuff together and
mhm.
pulled off, I think. Yeah.
Here's another question I never actually
Mhm.
got to ask you. I don't know why. Like, I saw you around the school and stuff. I just never asked. So, how much of you
Yep.
growing out your hair is because I grew out my hair and had a man
Oh,
bun? Admit it. Tell people the truth.
okay. You want me to be really honest?
Yes.
Honestly, I wasn't as inspired as you think I just
No,
wanted to just like
Tim. All right, we're
see.
cutting that out. We're cutting that out. We're cutting that part
Alright,
out.
alright, I'll do the real one. I'll do the real one.
No, but like, what inspired you to get long hair? Because that's not a usual fashion style that a lot of people have.
I was pretty like exploratory with my hair choices. I think like I obviously went bald for a bit. Like I think
You went
in year
bald?
year 9, yeah, I was bald for a bit. I had curtains, I had the fringe. I tried a lot of things. I had my hair done up, had my hair done down, and well, the next logical choice is to grow it out.
So
So I was
wait,
like, all
what
right,
does
let's
done
do
up
it.
mean? Is that like Goku spiked up?
Oh, I had it like start in like year 7 and like year 8ish. I had my hair slicked back and it was up a bit. I had product in it and stuff. And yeah, that's yeah, no, that stuff's like just too annoying to do, and like it like messes with your. I had this really awful gel or like awful wax where I play sport, and then after a while the wax would start melting and it would like go into my forehead, into my skin,
Ah,
into my eyes, and it was just like it's like a waxy sweat, and I was like, ah, I don't need none of this. And
yeah.
it's just
So what inspired you to finally cut your hair?
I don't know, it just got too hard to maintain, and it was like I had to spend like 10 minutes in the shower, like shampooing it, conditioning it, like every well, not like every day, but like every third day. And I was just
Mm.
like, It's too much of a hassle. Just like
And this is
go back to
something I
it.
feel like a lot of men won't know because a lot of men never end up growing out their hair, but it takes so long
It
to
does.
blow dry your hair.
Oh my god, yeah, it does.
It
When the longer it gets, the harder it gets. Like,
it was like I was averaging like 15, 20 minutes like the few weeks before I
oh
cut out my
yeah,
hair.
your hair was
Um,
really long. It was like
yeah.
down to your legs, right? Or was it not
No,
that
not my
long?
legs. It was, I would say, around like
Torso?
my belly button.
Damn,
So
damn,
how
dude.
long did you grow out your hair and where did it end up reaching?
Um, it was a little bit above my mid back. It was definitely below my shoulders,
Mhm,
but not like below the central line of my chest, I think.
mhm.
Like it was around there. Yeah, that it got to.
And I'm sure your parents were ecstatic that they
Yeah, my mom did not like it. She was because
dude,
I think
100%. My mom looked at it and she would like I felt like she would weep every time she saw my long hair.
uh I got my ears pierced as well. So she was like, "Well, what's going on?"
Did you get 1 year, 2 years?
I got both ears. Yeah,
Ah, cool,
yeah.
cool, cool. So
Very
if you
very
got 1
interesting
year on
story.
the left-hand side, I would start accusing you of plagiarism, but 2 years
Do
that's
you have
cool.
only 1 year 1 year pierced?
I do.
Oh,
I thought 2 years would be too I'm not sure what the right word is, but too stable. I thought having it on one side
is
gave me this sort of,
edge.
that's I thought about using that word, but I really didn't wanna use edge. I thought it would give me like an I just thought it'd
I
look
hate
better
the
if it
word as
wasn't
well.
stable. For example, if I did get both ears pierced, so my right
Mhm.
ear right now is not pierced. If I get that done, then I would then add something to my left ear again to keep it
Right.
unbalanced.
Right. So
I
you'd
don't
have
know.
like two on one side, one on the other side,
Yeah,
one
yeah,
cartilage.
yeah. I was thinking cartilage, but I've
Really?
also read or heard a lot of stories of people like using the gun and then like it shatters or something bad.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think if you
made
get it
me a little
professionally
scary.
done, like they like walk you through the whole process and stuff.
Mhm.
Like they tell you to clean it. But if you go to like not a dodgy place, I think it's fine.
But from what I've heard, even if it's professional and I don't have any experience in this, like if they use the gun, it's quite dangerous because it shatters or it bends or it breaks the
Yeah.
cartilage or something
Yeah.
like that.
I know
From that's what
people
I've heard.
I know people who've done it like DIY. Like they get their own gun or like they get a needle and they poke through
Ugh.
like the cartilage. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
not
really
brave enough to
scary.
do
I
that.
don't know how they do it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not brave enough to do that. Anyway, Tim, so I got you on for a few reasons. The first
Mhm.
of which is, and I've said this before, I was never school captain,
Right.
and I was in none of the leadership positions actually. So I've always had a fascination about this role and what this title
Mm,
entails, because in many ways, and you might disagree with this, but I feel like school captain and prefects and stuff like this, leadership positions, part of it is a popularity contest.
yeah, no, 100%.
Granted,
I
that's
agree
not
with
everything. So
that. Mm,
I'm just very interested in what you did and what you learned. And that I think will link us to the next topic, which is about graduating during the current coronavirus. And I think your graduation experience would have been noticeably different to mine and how you
mm.
think that changed you. So, firstly, like before we get ahead of ourselves, what was it like being captain? And secondly, what was it like being captain during the corona period?
Right, right. Well, I got elected in. As you said, it is a lot like a popularity contest. I think I mainly won my votes over because I socialize a lot. I socialize around with the teachers, and like I had a fairly good reputation, I think, amongst people. So
Mhm.
the other
Your video,
candidates.
by the way, that you submitted to say, like, this is my pitch to
Oh
become
yeah,
school
yeah,
captain was horrible.
yeah,
It was
exactly. Mine was
horrid.
so bad.
Like, you got in 100% because of reputation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there were so many people who had like such better videos, and like not even just in the school captain role, like the other roles, like Nick Dowling's video that was so good. Harris's
Mm,
video was also pretty good.
mhm.
Like no judgments when you say I won by popularity. Yeah, I flaunt it now. Yeah,
Mm,
100%. But yeah, so I got into the role and we did our investiture stuff. Like it's really hard to like communicate with between the teachers and like yeah in like the first initial stages because like were we in quarantine? No, we weren't in quarantine. It was just yeah, it was just really weird in like the first initial stages. But then after a while, like we started like having meetings and like we got into like the function of it. Yeah.
Wait, can you explain what you
Mhm.
mean by it was really weird?
I don't know because like we were we got into our roles, so we were prefects, and then like we were somewhere between like equals because we were like planning stuff for the school. We
Mhm,
were like somewhere between equals as like between like teachers and then also being a student, if that makes sense.
mhm.
Like yeah, we had like extra roles on top, but we also were still students and like we still had to like abide by the commands of our teacher. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't know where your role and responsibility and maybe even power
Yeah,
started and where it
yeah,
ended.
yeah. And sort of the more went along in my roles, the more I realized that I don't know. I felt like the student leadership role is more like a puppet role, at least oh like and more so in other schools, but less so in our school. Like that, I find that like the hard way, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say student leadership, that
Hmm.
that entails, for example, like well-being captain, school captain,
Yeah.
prefect, sports captain. Like that's what you mean by leadership, like all these positions, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, well, why do you say that? And I, by the way, I agree with you.
Yeah.
The student positions, student leadership positions are often puppets or often constructed to
Yeah.
fulfill the school's desires anyway, which they were going to implement with or without you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me know why you think then, how you came to that conclusion.
Hmm. I guess I came to that conclusion because like we were thrown into a lot of things very last minute. I remember we had this day that we were supposed to. We went to Mowbray Public School where we were like supposed to plan games and stuff, and we were only notified like three days beforehand, or it was either a week or like three. No, it was 3 days beforehand, and we had to like plan games last minute and stuff. Like tell the sport teachers like, oh, what equipment we need, and like fill in like Xcode. Like it was just we did so many things last minute just for no reason. I just don't know why. Like we weren't given more warning, I guess, or like more time to sort of get ourselves together and do stuff. Yeah,
So do you think that was just poor organization on behalf of the school?
I feel like, but the thing
I
is,
guess
right?
it would have to be, right?
Yeah,
Like what
it was
other
somewhat, but like I've read through because each year the captains and like the team they leave a thing called a prospectus, and it basically talks about like their past experiences and like what they've had to deal with and like what to look out for and like a bit of advice about how running events and stuff. And like so many of them said, "Oh, we always get handed stuff last minute." So like it wasn't just us; it was like the teams before us as well. So
Mhm.
that just gives greater credence to the idea that I guess we're sort of leaders, but like we have to abide by what the teachers say and stuff. Yeah, and like
Mm,
we're a bit strained in our agency as what we can do with our
yeah.
roles. Yeah, yeah.
And when you talked about leaving a note or some hints for the next generation or the next cohort
Mm.
of student leaders, did you also include that you'll be thrown into things last minute? Like, what were some hints and tips that you left for the next cohort of Chatswood students? And if anyone actually wanted to get into these positions, what
Mm.
advice would you have for them?
Right, right. Tweety and I were kind of bad. We didn't really write a prospectus, but at the same time, our leadership coordinator teacher was he told us to like write like one page, and he wasn't really specific about like what to write about. So we wrote like just general advice, like really general advice, like make sure you plan like leadership camp early and like really make the most out of your role, something like that. And
So, why didn't you write something more specific, like you'll be thrown into things last minute?
I don't know because I feel like if I was to write something specific, I wouldn't have enough time to flesh it out. Because he limited us to writing a one
Mm,
page summary. Because like I think he was going along the idea of like the last couple years they've had like total manuals about how to do your role. So like I think in 2019 they had a prospectus that was like 3 pages long, like
mhm,
3 pages double sided, like a really detailed like what you should do, what you should not do, who you should look out for, everything, just all into like one nice Google document, and it had like a what's the table of contents, and you could just
mhm.
like press it, and it's just like, oh yeah, yeah, how to run
Wow, that's
leadership camp
very
here.
organized.
Yeah, yeah. I think he wanted the new leaders to sort of figure it out on their own, I guess, or like sort of work like yeah, just like learn from doing. I think like first hand experiences. if that
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know who this teacher is,
Mm.
so, you know, but, this is not a call out, but I would just say that to me, that doesn't seem the best or the smartest tactic because
Mm,
yes, you do learn, but the thing is because this role is something which gets renewed every year, by
yeah,
the time that you have learnt, I feel like you're already in the process of handing it over. Do you
right.
agree or do you disagree with me?
Yeah, that's yeah, that's really true. The time that I was in my captaincy, it was very short, and I felt like I didn't really like do all the things I could have. I didn't really have hopes and dreams for coming into the role. Like I didn't want to do like massive changes to the school, but I definitely could have like brought stuff up. Like I don't know, nothing off the top of my head right now, but yeah, I could have done more in my role, and
Mhm.
I only really like considered that after I was leaving, like after I was handing it over to the new 2022 team. Yeah.
Was there a ceremony that you did in
No,
order to
we weren't part of it, but we had a video. No, so okay, we were part of it. We made like video responses, but they were I feel like they were quite shallow. Like we just got like three questions and we answered them all while like filming ourselves on a thing. But we weren't part of the investiture process. We didn't even know
Mm.
when it happened. Yeah.
This is one, I would say, criticism I have of public
Mm,
schools. There's a lot I like, and in the future, if I had hypothetical children, I would hypothetically send them to public schools, and I would have no
mm.
problems with that. But I think as someone who went to a private school,
Right.
the idea of tradition is a lot greater
Yeah.
in private schools, and this could be just because, I don't know, slightly wealthier or I don't really know. They just have a longer history, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure why, but this idea of tradition and the idea of roles is a lot more ingrained. So there would be a
Mm,
real ceremony and quite a lot of
mm.
pizzazz
Yeah, there's
and
lots of culture behind it, right? Yeah.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
passing of the torch. It would be like a full ceremony, and it wouldn't just be like, "Hey, here's
Yeah.
a 3-minute video."
Right, right, right.
Mm. Well, can I ask, you
Mhm.
actually preemptively disarmed my question, which was, what are some things that you think you could have done better, but then you said, nothing came to the top of your head. So if something does come to the top of your head, let me know. But my
Right,
other
right.
question I have for you is, do you think your ability to be captain was
Mhm.
hindered or changed because of the coronavirus? And if
Right.
so, like, how
Mm.
significant was that impact?
Right, right. So quarantine hit us at about, I think, the latter half of term three. I think, right? Am I right in saying that?
No, it was
Was it?
the last week of term 2, and we spent the entire
Oh,
term 3
yo.
in quarantine.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah. COVID really, I guess, impacted how much we could have done. I think there were a lot of people who ran like were supposed to run initiatives, but like they all got cancelled. I knew that Lara wanted to do sport, but I don't know. With all these like different captains, right? There's it's kind of hard for me to like, or like it was hard for my co-captain and I to sort of figure out events for the school that we wanted to run ourselves because we there was like a sport captain already, so they'll do like sports stuff and there's well-being and then they'll do well-being. Like I don't know, it just felt like it wasn't really our place. I felt at least it wasn't really our place to run like events that I have in mind. Like I wanted to do a lot of sports stuff like teachers versus students, but obviously that would have been covered by like Lara and Harris.
Mhm. So you
Yeah.
feel like your role was more ceremonial.
Yeah, yeah. I felt like our role was more like we're speakers for the school. Like we'd always get called up to talk. We did the Anzac ceremony, I think, over the school bell or like the school intercom. We did
Mhm.
that. We chaired the achievement assemblies for year 7, 9, and 10. But even then, we were also like that. We shared around that duty. Yeah,
And
but
talking
mhm,
about the intercom, do you remember, I think it was in my last year or my second last year at
yeah,
Chatswood, when the Year 12s, the leaving Year 12s, somehow hijacked the intercom and they started playing, was it music or they started playing something over the
yeah,
intercom? Do you remember
yeah.
that?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I remember that.
Did your year do anything for mock-up day?
No, because well, we for the whole duration of like the mock-up day period and like the final days leading up to the HSC, we were all at home. Like we didn't
Mm,
have any events that really, yeah, that really signified. Well, at school, it was hard for them. I'm not blaming anyone, but yeah, we didn't really have any like final last day events for us.
mm.
So I think you would have seen those. Like you're supposed to do a hospital walk, and
Oh,
everyone dresses
yes,
up.
I
We
did
didn't
see
we didn't
that.
get to do that. We didn't get clapped out of the school. There
Yes.
wasn't any teachers versus students events like that we could have done because we were all in lockdown. So it was a lot of time spent at home and sort of, yeah. We also were supposed to have an informal graduation, but like I think it was
What does
just
that mean? Well, it's an informal
I actually
graduation.
have no clue. Yeah, they had one last year or the year or two before, and it's just like funny awards given out and stuff, and like
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think yeah.
I actually here's a weird fact. Like like the year I cut my hair,
Hmm.
which was 2019, that
You got
year
the dates.
group gave me an informal award for best glow up.
Wait, 2019?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's oh yeah, yeah. That's that group, yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird moment.
That was the heart, sort of, no?
I was
That
like,
was the
"Damn, was I
struggle a
that
little.
ugly before?" I that this what you bring up with the informal stuff, like, that's what I want to get onto,
Yeah.
and it's a really good segue. But before I do transition, I guess I would like your final opinion on anyone listening or anyone who can reflect back on their days as a student leadership council or person. Do you
Yeah.
have any hints and tips or any advice for anyone getting into this role?
Any tips and hints for advice? Oh, I'm gonna sound really shallow here because it's gonna be the same things I said on that video. But I guess make sure. So if you're thinking about going into the role, make sure you socialize a lot and you have a good reputation with the teachers, as my teacher said, or Miss as Stan said. It's a bit mind-boggling now that I'm like here. Yeah. Make sure you maintain a good reputation with students and teachers because at my school at least it was a lot like a popularity contest, yeah. And even though you might not have a great video and like you might not be good with editing skills, like reputation will carry over. If you
Mm.
get into your roles, be proactive, make sure you I recommend like sitting down and being like, what can I do for the school, or like what what does the school need, and like just writing them down and like maybe going through your lists throughout your time in your captaincy and like doing stuff, yeah.
Well, can I
Mm.
ask, like, how realistic is that? So, for example, I'm making this up on the spot. So, let's just
Yeah.
say you want to install a water bubbler. Okay, I'm choosing something which is particularly hard, but like, let's just say you want to install like a water bubbler or like, I don't know, a tap or something
A
in the
hundred
school.
percent. I think for my school at least, that would have been absolutely possible. But there were a lot of water bubbles around the school anyway that were good. But theoretically, right, if you wanted to, yeah, if you wanted to have a water bubbler somewhere where there was like, and it was well within well within reason, obviously. You'd have to write up. You have to go through a due process, go to the proposal. I think you'd probably have to go to the PNC. But yeah, I think you would have a pretty good chance if you had good reason to install the water bubbler somewhere. Yeah,
Hmm.
100%.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so on that note, was there something that you wish that, let's just say you didn't have the pressures of HSC
Mhm.
bearing down upon you and social life and, athletic life and all that stuff. What is something that you wish you could have done?
Um.
So for me, as someone who played basketball, like
Right.
I hear that there is no basketball court and, that eats at my soul. Now, potentially that's not
Oh.
something you could do because
Yeah.
simply
Yeah.
things are just in chaos
The
because
whole school's in construction. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is there something that you think you could have done
Right, right.
better?
There was an idea that the vice captains came up with that I really like wanted to do, but I didn't have the time. We wanted to set up like a resource hub that like students and teachers could sort of look through, like an archive of sorts, and like any student who was like interested in the subject or like they needed help, like could just go into that document, go into that drive essentially, and look through the resources to help them. I think
Mhm,
that was one of the yeah, that was like a really great idea. But
mhm,
we ran into two problems actually. So the first one was we didn't have the time, and the
mhm,
second one was teachers are like they're really, I don't want to say stingy, but they're really selective with who they want to give their resources to, which is fair.
mhm,
But it really like halted. It really like stopped the project dead in its tracks. I think. Yeah.
mhm.
And
Another
yeah.
fear I would have just as a teacher and looking at
Mm,
this from the other perspective is,
yeah.
yes, I can definitely see how you ran into roadblocks with
Yeah.
teachers not wanting to give out their resources.
Mhm.
But the thing that scares me the most, two things. Firstly, what if a student or a teacher uploads something which isn't particularly helpful? So I upload something which I don't think is that good, or it isn't that
Right,
good,
right.
and people can use it anyway.
Mm,
So there's probably no vetting process because
yeah.
this is
You
a
have to
new
have a
idea. So
moderation, yeah, like
that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
mm,
Second thing is, if this is accessible to everyone, does that mean, for example, a little year 7 kid can upload like his Fortnite score
nah, no,
results
I
on it?
assumed it would be, like it was just, like, senior students and teachers, yeah,
Uh-huh.
like,
Uh-huh.
just who have access to it, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Regardless, I still think that
mm,
like opens up the channel for some sort
yeah,
of, I don't wanna say mischief, and the thing is, like, it's usually, like, the 1% who ruin it for the
yeah,
99%. I'll give you one example before we do, talk about what it was like graduating, during COVID.
mm,
But I had a friend who graduated many, many years ago, didn't go to the school, didn't go to your school, didn't go to my school, but he said that he was really, really good with technology, which I believe. He is very, very good at technology, and he said he would hack into Central, and he would change his attendance dates. Now, I maybe that's beyond what most people can do, but a
right,
part of me is just a little worried when I hear such a big platform being shared.
right.
Um,
It I think originally it was gonna be on Google Drive, so, like, there's no way you can, like, do attendance oh, yeah, I have no clue. Maybe you could,
anyway,
yeah.
like, this hasn't been, there needs to be so many other processes and steps. Yeah, I think it's a cool idea, but I was just giving you, the counter argument.
Yeah, yeah,
But
no,
that being said,
100%,
like,
yeah.
they're just counter arguments. I'm sure there could be ways around it.
Mm, yeah, for
Okay, well, let's move on to the other topic which I wanted to talk about, graduating during the
mm,
coronavirus,
yeah,
during the learning online period. So I will start with two things. Firstly, I remember at my new school, because I didn't teach at Chatswood for a year. For
yeah,
the last year, I haven't been teaching at Chatswood. So at my new school, I remember running into some year 12s and just telling them, like, I genuinely felt sorry that they had lost so many of what I consider these rites of
mm,
passage. Whether
yeah,
it's the formal, like you didn't lose the formal, so maybe that's
yeah,
not the best
thank goodness,
example.
thank goodness.
Thank goodness, yeah. But other things like, teacher versus students,
Yeah,
you said there are a few other things you lost. Oh, the walkout, which I have to credit this to Chatswood. Like whoever made up this idea, I thought it's just ingenious. The year sevens come in, and the whole school claps them in, and then when
mm,
they graduate, they walk out the same way, and everyone claps them out. I just thought that was just such a beautiful ritual,
yeah, yeah,
and yeah, things like that you missed out. And
mm,
I'll give you an example of the two things. Firstly, we for our muck-up day, because we were very tame as a year group,
yeah.
I think we were, like, quite I think generally everyone was, like, generally quite nice, and there was no, like, real deviant students, I would say.
Us too, yeah, yeah, us too.
So, I remember for muck-up day, this friend of mine drank, like, soy sauce, and then he got in trouble for that. It was just yeah, it was such a bad muck-up day because, like, all of us were, like, not rebellious anyway. So, but things like that you missed out on. I think
Yeah,
that's such a shame because that comes as a part of the year 12 experience. So,
yeah,
and I also remember in my final month or final 2 months being at school,
mm,
because you could see the end was near, the end that you have been, this journey that you've been embarking on with all these other people, these other peers that these other peers that you studied with, played sport with, ate with, talked with. I would walk around this school and I would be giving high fives and like, hugs and dapping up like my peers
yeah,
all the time
yeah,
in my
yeah.
final few months. And I remember like typing this as a Facebook stats, which is kind of cringe to think back on, but I did believe it in the time, which was like during the final months, sorry, of year 12, there's a real sense of bond and real sense of camaraderie that you
Mm,
feel with your peers.
yeah.
So tell me what it was like to miss out on that, or tell me what it was like. Did you feel
Um,
deflated? Like, what was your graduation year like?
Honestly, like, I feel like we were really isolated, yeah, like, what comes with from COVID isolation, but, yeah, we were definitely not close as a year group. COVID really screwed that up because we missed a lot of excursions, we missed I think camp would have I my brother says this as well, and I think I've talked to other people who've said the same thing. Camp is, like, one of the year 11 camp was one of like the things that brings year groups together, like makes not just like friendship groups tighter, but like also I don't know, just makes groups interact with each other better, or like interact in situations they would never interact with in usually. And I feel
Hmm.
like that kind of affected our year group. Like I I had to write a speech for the end, and I was about to write we were like a really close knit year group or something along the sorts, and like I just felt that's just a lie. Like we weren't close, like really as a year group. We were close within our friendship circles, yes, but there was no real sense of community that I felt with my year 12 cohort. And obviously, it's not their fault entirely. We had a lot of things just robbed from us, but it is what it is. Yeah,
Well, can I ask how much of that was just the fact that your year group might have been more introverted,
introverted.
or
Yeah.
how much of that was because of COVID? So if you had the Year 12
Um,
camps, do you think it would have been much better or like
yeah,
not
hundred
much
percent.
difference?
No, 100%. I think our year group would have been more interactive with one another. Yeah. And like, I don't know, just when we had our formal, it was just uh, like just people like weren't really interacting with each other. Everyone was just staying within their circles and stuff. And it was kind of like, wow, yeah, I don't know, a reflection of like not exactly. Oh, I sound so pessimistic when I say this, but yeah, yeah, we weren't connected. I felt like, and yeah, quarantine at least in the last term and like maybe the latter half of term three. I remember just studying like every day and just like hopping on calls with like only like my close friends, never really interacting with anyone outside of my group, and it was just like
And
hopping on. Yeah.
and how often would you interact with people outside your group if you're actually at school? And the
Um,
reason I mention this is
that's a good point.
because at my current school, this is something I found out recently, and I had noticed it before, but to me it was bizarre because I knew every single name in my cohort. I knew everyone.
Wow.
People say wow, but like I really didn't think that was much of an achievement. Like when I
Mm.
tell this to my students, my current students, their reaction is like, how on earth? But I thought this was like the norm, to be
Right, right.
honest. And but it seems like it's, I don't want to play, my generation's better than your generation. I'm definitely not playing that game. I think partly you could say technology is just such a good substitute for human interaction. But yeah, can I ask, like, let's just say you were actually in school, how often would you speak to other people
Well,
outside your group?
so we were in online classes, right? I When I was in school, face to face, I'd interact with. I say I interact with like a couple people in my classes, just every now and then in passing. I'd talk to people who I definitely wouldn't talk to outside of school or like outside of recess. But that's not a personality thing about them. It's just like we don't really share anything in common, but like we cool with each other, like we talk. But yeah, like I would definitely talk to other people in other classes and like people that I wouldn't usually interact with. And when COVID happened, we definitely lost that sort of aspect of. Well, I lost that aspect of my life, I guess. I like to
Hmm.
say, yeah,
So basically, you felt like if you
yeah,
did have access to student versus teachers and all the camps and all that
yeah,
stuff, you would
yeah.
have been able to write close knit community or cohort at the end of your speech.
100%, 100%, yeah. And extending upon that, like that thought, like, I felt like we as like students really didn't appreciate how much the teachers were doing for us as well, because like we were sitting behind a screen and like i don't think I don't think yeah our core really grasped like how hard it was for the teachers as well to like sort of get through it. And a lot of people in my year were like complaining like, oh yeah, this really sucks and stuff, but like, well, we weren't at it alone, I guess. We're like the teachers, like they really did try their best. And yeah, it was hard for just all parties going around, I
Mm.
guess. Yeah.
And that's a great segue into
Mm,
another question I have, and I wrote it down here, so I'll just read it, which is, what was something that you think the teachers didn't understand about your situation? So you said
mm,
something which is quite empathetic and quite nice, and I
yeah,
really do appreciate it. Maybe students weren't that appreciative, didn't understand what teachers had to
right,
go through, but
yeah.
let's flip the script for a while. What
Mm.
do you think teachers didn't understand about students?
Well, I like in my classes, they tried to do a lot of like group stuff online, and I felt like it was in obviously it was in good spirits, and like they wanted to engage us even when we were at home, like stuck behind a screen. But I think they didn't really understand that we didn't really want to do that. It just felt like a really poor substitute for like human interaction, like real face to face stuff. Yeah, and it really had it like had really poor like reception with everyone. By the end
So,
of yeah.
wait, is that that's the Zoom split classrooms,
Yeah,
right? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, like the Zoom classrooms, they try
Mhm,
and like do group activities, or they had like a Kahoot sometimes, or something like that. But
mhm.
like I think it really deterred people from joining them because like they just wanted to just like get through it. I think, yeah,
But that's
and
interesting.
yeah,
So,
but
I'll give you the teacher.
mhm.
Sorry, I interrupted. Finish yours, and I'll give you the teacher perspective to that.
Right. Oh, what was I gonna say? All good.
People from joining, you said.
Yeah, it deterred people from joining in by like the end of like nearing the end of like schooling and like going into like student vacation for prepping for the HSC. There were only like 4 or 5 people joining the classes, but like the teachers wanted to do like fun stuff and like just like I don't know, just like spend the last couple days just like enjoying their time with the students, and like no one joined, and it was like I kind of felt I felt like pretty bad for like the teachers because you know they spent like pretty much 2 years like teaching and like doing going through all the hard stuff, giving out assessments and stuff, and then like the one week I guess that they get to like really I don't know just like chill with the students, they didn't really get that either, and
Mm.
we sort of didn't get that as well. We didn't like I I could say personally, like I just stopped joining the classes because there was just like I was just like more focused on studying and stuff. Yeah.
And I don't think in that
Mm.
situation you can blame either group.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
completely
It's just the
understand
way
why
it
the
is.
teachers
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely understand why the teachers would want to have this final gathering, but at the same time, I understand there is HC pressure and students, there's a
Mm.
feeling of I don't want to look at the screen anymore. I don't want to, participate in this online classroom when it's not as rewarding and it's not as engaging.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's simply just the context. I remember reading online someone sarcastically posting, "Aren't I glad to be living through a world-changing historic event?" And that's simply what happens during world-changing historic events, like, things have to shape and bend. And
Yeah.
talking about what you're saying about students not joining, it's interesting because when I attended the award ceremony a few days ago, one
Yeah.
of the teachers, I won't name who, they said that this year, and I want to hear your opinion on it, but this cohort that graduated was quite apathetic.
Yeah.
And maybe that was correct or incorrect. Maybe this is just the influence of the coronavirus. But
Mm.
do you think by the end of the learning online period, people were apathetic?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. People I felt like I think quarantine was like one of my lowest points. Like, yeah, it was just like waking up. I didn't even have breakfast some days. Just like waking up, going onto the computer, typing notes. Like, I had this YouTube video open, like timing how much time like I spent, and then like timing my breaks and stuff. It was just like yeah, it was just a really like unfulfilling lifestyle
Hmm.
at the end of the quarantine period, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess that's why it sort of contributed to that like apathetic atmosphere that we had
Hmm.
in our year group, and
And
it also was like compounded by the fact that we didn't really have excursions. We didn't get to do all the fun stuff that we should have done in year 12 and year 11.
yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And talking about excursions, this is why like I always volunteered to play sport or coach sport because I think it's really important to see young men and women grow in situations not in the classroom. And
mm,
when you develop a bond of friendship or a good working relationship at sport or at camp,
yeah,
that translates to the classroom as well. And I think and
exactly, yeah,
that's something
yeah,
that, you would have missed, which is a real shame. Just on the teacher's perspective,
yep,
because you've gone the student's perspective. I can understand why the teachers did want to use those
yeah,
classrooms, split classrooms, because
mm,
there was a real concerted fear, and I think it wasn't unfounded that students and teachers right now, or everyone really, are at a very isolated period of their life.
yeah,
So because of that, like if you just put yourself in the teacher's shoes, like how else are you able to foster some sort of connection between or some sort of communication between students if you can't physically, get there
Yeah.
or physically group them up together? So I understand that it wasn't the best substitute. I
Mm,
just don't really know how many other
yeah.
better substitutes there could have been.
I was gonna add on, like, I would have had no idea how to sort of try and get everyone to socialize, or try and get the classroom more engaged in the environment, other than the ways that teachers tried to do in when we were like learning. Like, I would have had no clue. It's just a lose. It feels like a lose lose situation.
Mm,
Hey, yeah,
yeah,
I have no clue.
yeah, for sure. And what do you think will happen, in the future
Mm,
with coronavirus? Do you think like the next year will also go through the same things that you did?
I
Maybe
really hope
maybe this
not.
is maybe this question's too hard because I'm asking you to predict like the trajectory of this virus. But like, do you foresee online learning periods being somewhat of a norm for the next few years?
Oh, I want to say I really hope not, but I don't think it's online classes are gonna go away forever. I'll put it that way. That is a hard question. Hey, no, I think there won't be a normal. I really hope there won't be a normal thing, but they could be, and I think people will be more. They wouldn't be as surprised, like the coming years. They'll sort of be. I like to say that they'd be aware of it, and they'd be like used to it, I guess. I don't
Hmm.
know. Yeah.
Yes, about that. At
Mm.
my new school, there was a real point of contention between
Hmm.
year 12s and teachers. And once again, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, but I think your cohort was caught off guard by how serious and how quickly things shut down.
Yeah.
And I think, and because I was teaching a year 11 class, I told them, like, just be prepared. This might be your
A
future.
reality for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just say it is, touch wood, but let's just say it is, and they do have to go through a
Mm.
3-month, 4-month learning online period. What are any hints and tips that you would give to them? So, for example, something I would
Oh.
say, because I think I sat down too much, I just almost pulled. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but the
Mm.
muscles in my back atrophied or whatever, something
Yikes.
bad happened, and I've been having to get, like, massages to just almost relieve the
Oh my
stress in
god.
my back. So, something I would highly, highly, highly recommend is, as soon as the
Yeah.
school day ends, go for a run, go for basketball, go play sport.
Yeah.
So
Go
what's
have
something
a
that you
walk.
recommend for the next
Yeah.
cohort?
I if yeah, touch wood. You should really stay in touch with your friends. I recommend group calls, like even just like calls where you guys all have your mic muted, and you have your face cams on, and you're all just studying. Like, I feel that sense of presence, like that you wouldn't get, like, just staying at home. Like, you need that, I feel. So that's definitely one of the things I would recommend.
Is that something you did?
No, but it's something that I wish I did. I
Mhm.
I I felt like I didn't really have a close group of people that, like, I could study with, sort of. Yeah, we all my friends really did a lot of different subjects, and yeah. But yeah, I would recommend doing that. If not, just hopping on calls and just having conversations, setting aside some time after school, or even before school, or during lunch and recess, just to like talk with your friends and stuff. Another one, Stan's already said it, but go outside, like touch grass, like just walk around, even like go out for like a 10-minute walk, like at least every day, like once a day. I think that's really like healthy, and yeah, that like everyone could use that.
Can I ask what is that terminology? I
Touch
saw it
grass.
everywhere. Like basically 3 weeks ago, I had never heard that phrase, and then all of a sudden, everyone was saying touch grass.
It's
What
just like
on earth does that mean?
no, it's like for people who don't go outside, like it's like a meme. It's like a meme essentially. Just like get a life. Like go
Mhm.
go go touch some grass. Like go get in touch with reality again.
Okay.
Stop looking at a screen. That's the sort of like
So basically put down your VR headset.
yeah. Like get out of your room.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah.
basically do sport and
And
keep the social life going.
third one, like self care. Like make sure, like, sure, like the HSC is something you should really focus on, but you should also focus on your mental health and like self care. I think that really gets put aside during exam times, COVID or no COVID, but even more so with COVID, I think.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll press you on that because what I agree with everything you said, but it's a tad general. What does
Yeah.
self-care mean, and how does that actually, and you might not have the answer, but how does that actually
Mm.
manifest during the COVID period?
Right. Just like finding some time for yourself for what you want to do. If you like hang out with friends, obviously like go talk with friends. That can count as sort of self care. But like have some you time. I think like I found I got into meditating a little bit during the COVID
Oh,
period.
finally. I've been telling you about this for 3 years, but I'm glad that it took a
Yeah.
global
Um.
pandemic to do this.
I stopped now because like it was really through like really stressful periods. But meditating is like 100%. I got this app. I don't know what it's called. It's like this.
Headspace?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and it's like this guy with a really deep voice, and he's like tells you like breathe in and out and like let out all your feelings, like all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
It sounds really weird, and it's like it's not really something you'd first think of when you think about self care, but it really helps. I think. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just like
100%.
it just makes you feel more. I don't know, like you're being. You're like you're more aware, and you're aware of your surroundings, and you're grateful for things. Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. So self I think is does that does that adequately answer self-care?
No,
Yeah.
that's completely adequate.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yes, just to emphasize that again, I've been pushing meditation to basically all my students. I
Mm.
highly recommend it. Just try it,
Just
to the
try it.
people
Like
listening.
if you don't like it, it's like 5 minutes out of your day lost. You could go make it up like playing video games or whatever, or like
Yeah,
going
just
going out.
yeah, don't watch that one YouTube video and then go meditate for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, let me
Mhm.
ask, because I've been asking a lot of questions out of curiosity to see what you've gone through
Right.
and what your high school experience was like, your final year with COVID. Do you have any questions for me or
Mm.
what it was like being a
I
teacher
do.
during that period of time?
I do. I've got this question. Do you think the COVID pandemic has changed your outlook on teaching for the better or for worse?
Oof. I would say that it actually, the COVID period showed me how much stuff I was doing, which wasn't just in the classroom, but at the same
Mm.
time, how important that was. So something that I've referenced before, whether it was basketball coaching or even being on playground duty, like these are things which eat into my day. And
Right.
sometimes, if you ask teachers, you'll hear that they sometimes go like a full 6 to 7 hours without eating or not going to the
Yikes.
bathroom because they simply just don't have enough time. So pretend you
Mm.
go 4 or 5 periods a day, and then you have like lunch duty. And at recess, a student needs you. Like you can't say, come back, or you can, I guess, but some teachers don't do that. So
Yeah.
but at the same time, it also made me realize how important it was to walk around at lunchtime and say, "Hello, John. Hello, Lily. Hello, Tim." Like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, how important that was because that's how you cement their names in your head, and that's how you just build
Yeah.
small connections and small connections. So I had so much free time during the
Right.
pandemic, but at the same time, I felt like the teaching product, not from me, or not just from me, but
Mm.
from everyone, sort of suffered. So
Right.
I would say it really reinforced why I became a teacher, which is I don't want to sit in front of my computer all day and have no
Right,
social
right.
interactions.
Mm. Damn. Damn, that's a good answer. That's a good
Mm.
answer. Do you think your teaching styles changed a little bit after the COVID pandemic? Like, are they more, I guess, like, have you learned anything about teaching?
I would say that I more comfortable with online forms of learning. Now, I
Mm.
wouldn't say I particularly love them for the reasons we've spoken about before. I
Yeah.
think the lack of engagement is a serious issue, but I this is something that I've had to learn and I still think I can get better at, which is I think, and this is going to sound like a humble brag. So, if it is, like, I'm really emphasizing the negatives of this, but I think when I teach in a classroom, I can be quite engaging, hopefully, touch wood.
No, 100% agree from
Uh,
2 years.
the thing though is with that engagement, I think there's the downside, which is basically you're almost like a showman. You're at the front of the class and you're teaching, and you're like in the spotlight. But I think with COVID and COVID
Mm.
preventing me or other teachers from doing that, we had to rely on like creating
Mm.
resources to get students to do more work by themselves.
Right.
So, for example, maybe this will tell my point well. Instead of me just explaining like this is how you write an essay and being hopefully being captivating and engaging, getting creating worksheets where students actually then need to write the essays out themselves.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
I think like COVID has forced me, and this is something that I wanted to move away from anyway, because I do think it's somewhat of a crutch in the sense that I know I can be engaging. So I just, I just start talking and then I get people's attention, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're learning.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean they're not learning either, but I think it's important to have a varied approach. So I think that's something that changed about my teaching outlook.
Oh, I had another question, but I can't remember it. Oh.
Hey, don't worry. It,
I'll
it,
ask
it,
it to you. I'll ask it to you later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Is that so? Thank you for, Tim, thank you for giving me all that information. Like, this is something that I've thought about for a while because, as you can tell, I've only really experienced COVID from a teacher's perspective. So
Right.
there's a lot that I didn't know from the student perspective. And I thought, I'd get you on because I think you're quite charming and you're quite intelligent and you're a
Stop
good
it.
speaker.
Stop it.
Really? Do you actually want me to stop it? But no, but all that stuff, like, all that I thought I'd get you on. So just to share, and I think, and hopefully, this could be therapeutic, or is that the right
Mm-hmm.
word? Cathartic, I should say,
Cathartic.
for
Yeah.
other people who went through this as well. So
I hope
maybe
I've
they
been.
could relate.
I hope I've been cathartic. That's quite cool. I don't think everyone's described me or described a conversation like that. Cathartic.
Well,
Wow.
but the thing is, like, all the year 12s, like, if any year 12s or any other students or
Yeah.
any person who's gone through COVID, if they listen, I'm sure they'll see parts of themselves
Yeah.
in your response and my response as well. So
I hope
hopefully
so.
this will just
Yeah.
give them a platform to explore that a little more.
I was speaking to my friend Alonzo.
Mhm.
He's a diehard fan of your podcast. So hi Alonzo. He's probably gonna be listening to this at some
Really?
point. Yeah.
Shout outs to Lonzo.
Shout out to Alonzo.
Yeah, yeah. He was, I taught him for 2 years for international studies. He was hilarious, and I remember the only time I was disappointed in him was in year 10. He tried to plagiarize, and it was so obvious. It was so obvious, Lonzo. Like, come on! I could just search it on Google. Come on, Lonzo. Like, step your game up, man.
You're calling him out on your podcast, and he's gonna be listening to it.
But yeah, just one more thing.
Yeah.
Just, to all the people, all the students who've graduated, I just want to say, like, it was a really hard year. It was like super, super difficult. And you've left a
Yeah.
stage behind and you're entering a new stage. And I hope that you can enter the new stage with all the vigor and passion that you had when you first entered high school. So I think COVID hasn't been kind, but it has been kind on the whole world. So I hope you can regain some of that passion.
Yes to resilience.
Yes, to resilience.
Yes to resilience.
Anything else you want to say, Tim?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been good having a chat with you again. Haven't
Mhm.
haven't had a chat with you in such a long time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a while. Do you
Uh,
remember when we used to sit down at like lunchtime and like sit down
yeah, in
on
my
like
free
silver
periods.
seats? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, free periods and we'd
that's
chat. So
the OG times. I
OG
remember.
times, OG
Yeah, OG
times.
times.
Times that we can't get back, but hey, that's how time flows.
What's the saying?
Time flies.
No, I forgot. It's like times from a past long gone or something like that. I don't
I've
know.
never heard that, but yeah, I'm sure I resonate with the sentiment. Cool.
uh,
Tim, thank you. And we'll talk soon, man.
yeah, see ya. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to Safety Last with Stanley Ching. If you enjoyed this, then please leave a rating or a comment. I hope you're leaving with a new idea, and make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and other places that can be found in the description.